Good morning, guys. Keith Engel here with the TGI Sports Talk Sunday. Stream of consciousness. How is everybody doing today? 2 minutes late with coming off the Mac and Jack show. Sorry about that. Don't know where my background went before we started. That won't look very good when I share the show and it's a blank screen. But anyway, welcome. Welcome everybody watching us this morning on where are we? TGI Sports Talk, Northeast Streaming Sports, Let's Talk Sports. If you see us later on Sideline Sports or any of the groups that I shared this to, please like and share. If you're watching on YouTube, ring the bell, as Dan Harris says. Oh, lots to cover today, guys. I thank everybody who tunes in. This is my favorite show of the week, as everybody knows, because you guys kind of run this show when we have the right crowd. And we always have the right crowd. Spent a little time in some old stomping grounds of Amsterdam, New York last night with some good friends, out to dinner. Left one of my favorite Patriot hats at the restaurant, which I just texted a friend of mine who was tending bar to see if he could find for me. You know, it was my own fault. I had it on my wife's purse, and I said, I'd like to hang it on a hook right on this pole. They should have a hook here. Well, they showed me there was a hook on the other side, and I said, I'm going to leave it. And sure enough, I did. Maybe I was overserved. Lots to talk about today, guys. Let's kill the music here. We're going to get into the Patriots. Isaiah Bolden last night, scary injury, game canceled. I don't understand some people. We'll get into this topic in some depth, depending on how far you guys want to go. Some people on social media screaming about the fact that the meaningless preseason game is canceled in the fourth quarter. I think a smart move. Bill Belichick's one of his finest moments. And Matthew Slater, who played 16 years for Bill Belichick, said it was his proudest moment as a Patriot. And look at the team was shook up. This was a violent, scary injury. Now, I don't think if this was a regular season game, it would have been canceled. Canceled. But I think they did the right thing last night. We'll talk some about the Yankees, 7-game losing streak. It's not even, it's boring baseball. And we're going to get into some stuff I talked about. And we had a small crowd on the Major League Baseball update. You may have seen it later on, as we've had some pretty good views after the fact. But I'm going to talk about this recent revelation by Yankee Farmham of how they're not even teaching guys baseball. It's not hard to see when they get here. They're teaching them all analytics, which I got into a little bit of a snit about. I'm not going to get into it in depth, but the way the Yankees are teaching guys, according to this kid, and nobody's refuting it, it's just ridiculous. We'll talk about that. I want to talk a little bit. Jose Altuve gets to 2,000 hits. I want to talk about his legacy a little bit, just to throw you guys some stuff that maybe we'll talk about. We'll talk about the Wander Franco situation, and he may never play baseball, Major League Baseball again. J-Rod sets a record last night with 17 hits in those last 4 games. Talk some NFL. As I said, Isaiah Bolden. We'll talk some of the quarterback tiers, where we think people are. We can talk Aaron Rodgers, where, again, I'm not seeing what other people are seeing. And I don't doubt that, again, this guy is – I don't want to be Aaron Rodgers' defender, but I also don't want to blanket him with criticism just for the point of giving him criticism when there's nothing to give. So far, he's been a model citizen. He yelled at his offensive line. So what? That's what quarterbacks do. Maybe we'll get into some FIBA Basketball World Cup. Just look at the rosters or whatever. And I don't know. College football, is there anything to talk about? Georgia names a starting quarterback. No teams have left in the last week, left their conferences. So let's say a few good mornings, by the way. Good morning, CA. Looks like the league is filled up. I don't know who the last guy that jumped in was. Jay, I think. But we're full with 12. Got a draft at midnight, 8 o'clock tonight. Should be a lot of fun. In fact, I'm hardly on the clock for the Let's Talk Sports 17-day draft. So good job there, CA. Don't know who the last one is, but good luck to everybody tonight in that draft. I hope you all have some fun doing it. So Who else we got here? Dave Guyette, good morning. Dave at least starts with a good morning before he gives his daily fire Cashman and Boone, which he's not wrong about. Will not happen till the end of the season, Dave. And it's starting to look more and more like Brian Cashman will not lose his job. Aaron Boone, different story. Good morning, Rick. Rick jumped with me. He likes to watch that first half hour of Mac and Jack, and I enjoy going on with them on Sundays and Friday mornings. You can always catch me there Fridays from 9 to 9:30, maybe a little longer sometimes. And on Sunday mornings, 8 to 8:30 before I start here. Mac, Jack, and the great Jim Jeffcoat, former Cowboy great. It's a lot of fun with those guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Ken Gifford. How are you? Good to have you with us today. Old school, not wearing your hat in the restaurant. I don't, when I'm in, it's funny because I always take my hat off when I walk in. If I'm going to watch football, my hat stays on, right? If I'm hanging out at the bar, if I sit at the bar, I'll leave my hat on, which we don't do when we go out to eat. My wife doesn't like to eat at the bar, but we go watch football, I leave my hat on. But when I'm out to dinner, off comes a hat. I wasn't even going to wear a hat. I should always wear a hat, I guess. But anyway, we hope we can find it. Next year, AI is umpiring the Major League. Possibly. Listen, I've seen a lot of video, Facebook videos about the balls and strike review. Listen, I don't want to slow baseball down anymore. I don't like any of this. I'm just reporting it, okay? I do not like the human element taken out. I'm okay when umpires make mistakes. It's part of the game. Again, who remembers the 1985 World Series if Don Deckinger doesn't blow the last out that would have given the St. Louis Cardinals a victory over the Royals? Nobody would remember that series. Maybe nobody remembers it anyway but me, but Drew has both J-Rod and Altuve on his fantasy team. Know what it's done for me? Not much. 17 hits in 4 games. You better get some more guys. That's all I can tell you. And you should have had Altuve, which we're going to jump into in just a little bit, and we can get there first. I have said for a long time, I don't care about cheating scandals. They're overrated. It's ridiculous. Sign stealing's been going on since the day baseball started. Did they take it to a new level? Yes. Jose Altuve will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. His legacy will be tarnished a bit because of this scandal. You don't think this has been going on? Ralph Branca went to his grave saying that the Giants were stealing his signals, the signs, when Bobby Thompson hit his historic home run to send the Giants the Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. It's called manners, yes. Again, it depends on the situation. If I'm sitting down with my wife or other people, I'm going to take my hat off. If I'm sitting at a bar having a beer, I'm probably not. Drew with his fantasy football update. Rick solidly holding on to second place, keeping making a huge drive. Yes, thanks for jinxing me, Drew. I'm 17-3. Every time I have one of these days and we talk about this, 17-5, I thought it was 17-3. Doesn't matter. Either way, I'll probably end up 11-11. And set to move into fourth with a hair of third. Drew continues to slide into the second division. Listen, my team is finally starting to gel. Stop to make excuses for him, like Aaron Boone, and I went in the clubhouse and I ripped them. Thanks for that update, Drew. Stealing signs, a little kid are doing it. Again, it's part of freaking baseball. Do a better job of hiding your signals, by the way. That's part of, by the way, maybe we should teach kids how to properly give signs so you don't give them away. It's part of teaching guys baseball intellect. Stop teaching them exit velocity and launch angles, and that's how you're going to rate guys, Yankees. Oh, my God. The fantasy question is, can Keith or Drew grab fourth? Listen, since the season began, and I spent most of it in last or second to last, and just every week it seemed I thought I was going to be climbing out, and then Sundays I would just go to crap. I had my eyes set on fourth, and then just hope for, rain. I don't know, but it's a lot of fun. It's a fun league. Well, I don't know how many weeks we have left. We still have 5. I don't know. Drew, we must still have at least 6 or 7 weeks. No, it can't be 7. 6 weeks. Maybe it's 5. I don't know. Alan, I don't know whether the draft. I don't think the draft rotation is picked until just before the draft. CA can probably comment more on that. At some point during the day today, before the draft starts, they will auto shuffle the draft. 4 more weeks after today. That's it. Don't worry, I will find a way to make a lineup change that kills me. It's been my forte. Oh, guys, what are we talking? Let's get into some. Let's start with baseball. Let's start with MLB-Races heating up as we hit the stretch run. Yankees' ridiculous analytics approach. Drew and I had a little back and forth again. It's funny because I know Drew doesn't think that teams should be relying on analytics 100%. I think not all of the analytics. I mean, look at anything. OPS, which is a really good stat, is an analytic. Is analytics. I get it. I don't give a crap about exit velocity and launch angles. I could care less. And the Yankees are putting so much stock in this, according to an prospect that they had, that the Yankees are not teaching baseball at all. They're trying to turn every player into the same guy, and that they base all their free agent and trade criteria around how launch angle and exit velocity affects the OPS, and trying to take, I guess, luck out of the equation, which, look, at this is just a stupid way to. The scouting department used to go scout guys, watch them play, and bring back a report. Not sit in front of a computer screen and dive into a bunch of freaking numbers that I can make numbers mean. I can make numbers say anything I want. I do it for a living. I shouldn't say I do it for a living. But when you're in position like I am, I can turn bad numbers and justify them because of XYZ. And I can discount good numbers because of XYZ. Something different here. Can't judge what's in here. Can't judge this guy's head or his heart on numbers. And that's why baseball is the way it is today. I have never, and not just the Yankees, I have never seen so much bad baseball because guys don't have any instincts. Not all of them. Most guys don't have the baseball instincts that they would have had back in the day. Ugh. And the Yankees, by the way, it looks like Brian Cashman may survive this mess. They're not going to make the playoffs, guys. They have the other day they had a 2% chance of making a playoffs. What do they have now? Got to be less. 1% chance of making a playoffs. They've lost 7 in a row. They're 3 games under 500, a 30-year streak, which, by the way, is remarkable. I know I've bashed Cashman about not winning championships, but 30 years without finishing under 500 in any sport. I think the Patriots hold the NFL record with like 16. And the way parity and the way leagues want parity today, It's remarkable that you're able to do that. But that streak is likely to go by the wayside here, the way things look right now. They could rebound and finish over 500 fairly easily. But if you watch this team, how does anybody have any hope that this team is going to rebound? Aaron Boone, before yesterday's game, I think we're about to turn a corner. You're about to turn a corner into oncoming traffic. That's what you're about to do. This team isn't just bad and mediocre. It's boring. It's been a long time since I hated watching Yankee baseball as much as I do right now. Oh, what do we got here? CA, back in the 90s, I joined a few that way, filled up leagues that needed one, even make even amongst the others. Back then, played over 10 on no smartphones. Talking about fantasy football, I guess. Again, I'm not sure who joined us late. I did post it, on the site and my personal page. So could be somebody joined that I don't know. If they're watching our show, I hope they'll speak up. But we do have a pretty good crew. I don't know everybody that's in. Alan's in, CA's in, Rick is in, I'm in, Dan Harris. Dan, hope you're doing okay if you see us today. Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports. I think Tanner's in from Let's Talk Sports. Nick is in from Let's Talk Sports. I'm missing somebody. Scott Kobe's in from Let's Talk Sports. And then there's two more I'm missing. I don't have it in front of me, but it's hard because I don't think I always see their names. So Kenny hopes the Yankees keep teaching it as it's producing a great team. Yeah, it's done a great team. They get kids up here who don't, as well as Volpe's played. And I feel he's got better baseball instincts than a lot of kids I've seen come up. I still see where I really see improvement needed in his game. Well, first of all, the strikeouts don't matter. They don't seem to bother the team at all. Because, again, this prospect pointed out that in the way they're teaching these kids, strikeouts don't count against you. They don't care about strikeouts. And Volpe, the other thing is base running. How about teaching kids how to run the bases with some kind of intellect, with some kind of plan in your head? Oh, these Yankee teams are like impossible. Trey Turner, 2 home runs in the same inning. Trey Turner's had a tough year in Philadelphia, and I got to tell you, I give the Philly fans credit because they're not known for their patience in Philadelphia. But they've really given Trey Turner a pass for this whole, and he's starting to pick it up here in the last month or so. Again, signed a big contract, so he's there for a long time, 11 years. So if you lose the fans in year one, man, it can get ugly. We talk about New York, or I talk about New York being a tough place to play. Philly is tough as well. Tough for different reasons. 23. Tonight's draft will probably take about an hour and a half, I would think. 20 teams is a lot. I'm still doing Dan Harris's Let's Talk Sports draft, and it's like a 2-week thing, or 1 week anyway. I don't know. We're just in I don't know what round we're in here, but I'm still not on the clock here. I've been waiting. It pauses every night. There's guys all over the globe. He's got guys. Remember, Dan's in the UK. He's got guys in the UK, and he's got guys out here in the US. He's got guys all over. So you got big time differences. So it's not a draft where everybody gets together. It's a draft where it's done over time. It's like 4 hours between picks, if you don't pick right away. Luis Urias hits back-to-back grand slams for the Red Sox. A lot of I don't know, historic. I mean, these things have happened, but they're rarities. I'd say a lot of rarities in baseball yesterday. As we said, J-Rod with 17 hits in 4 games is a major league record, but hitting back-to-back grand slams can do no better than tie. I don't think anybody's ever done 3 in a row. and 2 home runs in the same inning. Probably tied a bunch of guys as well. So, but it's not these are rarities in baseball. Missed the previous mention about Jay. Do you know who it is? I don't know who it is. Glad the Jays traded for Paul DeJong, and Paul comes off the IL and they designate DeJong immediately. I'm a little surprised myself. I mean, probably, let's say it's August. He could still get picked up by a contender and be eligible for the playoffs. I'm not sure who. I'm sure he'll be on a team here as soon as he clears. I mean, once he's designated for assignment, what's he got? X amount of time to report. Or they have X amount of time to release or trade him. Hopefully he saw one of the shows, joined via publishing publicly. Nonetheless, we're finalized and starts at 8. So good. So we don't know who it is. That's fine. If it's somebody that came from my personal page, it's probably somebody I know. Although I don't know everybody anymore because of this show, my friends list has exploded. And thank you, all of you who wished me a happy birthday earlier this week. It was a lot of responses, and I try to get back to everybody. I try to get back to everybody. I just got a update on Isaiah Bolden here. Now, as far as I know, Isaiah Bolden was had feeling in all his extremities once he got to the hospital. Patriots cornerback Bolden sustained an injury during the fourth quarter of last night's game. He had feeling in his extremities. He's been taken to the local hospital for further tests and observations. So, anyway, keep good thoughts in your head for Isaiah Bolden. We'll talk a little more about that and what teams should do in those situations, I guess. Wander Franco, another story in Major League Baseball. If you haven't followed this story, it's a sordid one. At first, he was suspended and for cavorting, if you will. I'll try to keep it PG. Why is my screen doing that? Probably because I got the fan going. For cavorting with the first article I read, it said a woman under 17. I mean, it's a girl, not a woman, which is bad enough. And now there's a special investigator that's been assigned, and there's another young girl that's come to light, and there are a lot of people close to the Rays and close to Wander Franco who believe he will never play in the major leagues again. And it certainly will be if that's the case, it will be a waste. And I hope these things aren't true for a number of reasons. But if they are true, he shouldn't play in the major leagues, and he probably ought to go to jail. So the Rays are dealing, and they're hanging in there. Somehow the Rays, with all the distractions they had, and we'll talk about injuries and stuff here in a little bit too. The Rays are 6-4 in their last 10. They hang 2.5 games behind the Orioles with a lot of distractions. Almost their entire starting staff now is gone for the year. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, and Drew can probably correct me, 4 starting pitchers that would have been expected to be in the rotation are gone. Similar to the Dodgers. We'll talk about that in a second. They lose Goslin for the remainder of the year. Excuse me. Where was I? Oh, the Rays dealing with these distractions. The Wander Franco distraction. You can't tell me it's not a distraction to a team when you've got one of your teammates being investigated for inappropriate behavior with underage girls and injuries. So kudos to them. Kudos to Kevin Cash, I'm not the biggest fan of, for keeping his team on even keel. They've done a great job. I mean, again, I don't know if anybody will disagree with me. Should he ever play Major League Baseball again? If these allegations are true, I'm going to say no. Let's see what we got here. A few more comments. To everyone, good luck in tonight's draft. Thank you, CA. Good luck to you. Reds do call up another prospect. Wasn't well, I was just going to ask you this and you answered it. So 6 of their top 10 are now up. De La Cruz moves to third shortstop, where I believe that's his natural position anyway, right? McLean moves to second, because I believe they were playing De La Cruz at third and McLean at short, if I'm not mistaken. And Steer moves to the outfield. This is a good young team. Where are they at, Drew? Well, we're talking about it. The Reds now, they lost 1. They're 5-5. 28% chance of making the playoffs, almost 29. And I believe they were, at least Friday, they were tied in a wild card. Right now, they are in. Oh, they're tied. They'd be tied for the last one. They were tied with 3 teams. The Marlins have fallen back to a half a game behind. Diamondbacks have moved up to a half a game behind. So you've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 team race, I would say. I think the Phillies are solid again. 3.5 games you could collapse. So let's say 6. If you want to count the Padres, it's 7. You got a 6-team race for 3 spots. That's probably the best race left in baseball. The American League, there's only really, again, I'm going to say 4 teams. 5 if you want to push it to the Red Sox. I do not think the Red Sox are a real contender. So the really big race, most exciting race to me, is going to be that National League wild card race. Now you're going to have some pennant races still, obviously. I think the West is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Mariners now only 4 games back, by the way. Won 5 in a row. Playing great baseball the last month. Pulled within 4 games of the Rangers. Astros hanging in there 2.5 back. Rangers have lost 3 in a row. I think that's going to be a great race. You could still see a race for the top spot in the Central of the NL. Cubs and Reds, lurking 3 games back of the Brewers, and Brewers have been very up and down. But I think the Brewers will win this division, and the Dodgers have made a mockery of the West. And I've said this a number of times. Anybody who thinks that, I gotta do something with this background, driving me nuts. I don't know what happened. I apologize. I don't know. Dave Roberts, they lose Goslin now for the rest of the year. They've been without a lot of their starters for a good portion of the year. They've been without Gavin Lux the entire season, who was supposed to be their starting shortstop. They've had injuries all over the field. Muncie's been out, in and out of the lineup. Dave Roberts has done a tremendous job here. He's one of the best managers in baseball. He's got to be the manager of the year in the National League, in my mind. I don't see how he isn't. He never gets the credit that he's due. People like to rip him. Dodger haters, like our own show favorite Mark Mancini, love to rip him. Rodgers has said the Packers wouldn't give him players, and now he keeps trying to rid them. Get them? Yeah, I'm not really sure what we're talking about there. Listen, I'll pivot to football in a second, but since this is a stream of conscious show, we can talk a little bit here. Aaron Rodgers, I'm missing something. And again, I don't want to defend Aaron Rodgers. I've watched both episodes of Hard Knocks. He's done nothing but put on his best face. So I think he's a good actor, sure. Do I think when the adversity hits, will he be a little different? Yes. I've seen nothing other than, maybe getting on his offensive lineman, which every quarterback in football does. I've seen nothing but a model citizen. I don't know why Jet fans, this isn't just you guys, by the way. I have Jet fans, real hardcore Jet fans, who won't even watch. This team, on paper, is the best team in the AFC East. And I'm on record as saying any of those 4 teams could win the division. Any of those 4 teams could lose or finish last, depending on circumstance. And things could explode. And I hope they do. As a Patriot fan, I want this train to go off the rails. I'm really ticked off about this freaking background today. Ticking me off. We'll get more into that. Goslin goes back on the IL again. He's out for the year. We only say DL here. Sorry, Drew. I'm going to have to put you in timeout for using the wrong phrase. Kidding. Again, it was a disabled list. It was good enough for as long as it was. It's good enough for me now. I don't think I'm really offending any disabled people by having a disabled list in baseball. I just can't imagine that is a thing. But Goslin is out for the year, and Dodgers do persevere. Listen, they pull pitchers out of their butt. Lance Lynn pitched great the other night. I think he lost in a loss. Or did they win that 1-0 game? I don't remember now. He pitched really well. And Roberts has been... But this has been a consistent team. They won a championship, and again, that's the rip. The only championship they've won in this run was not the strike shortened, but the COVID shortened season, which was only 60 games. But at the end of the day, it's a championship. Americans set the world record in the shot put. That I did not see, Kenny. I was busy watching a pillow fighting. I did not see the shot put record. I didn't see that. Let me see if it's on, because a lot of times ESPN will have let's see, track and field. Where's track and field? Olympic sports, best I can do. Wow. Ohio State champion wrestler shot near campus. I guess I shouldn't have come to this. I don't see it. But congratulations to this American shot putter. Or unless somebody was shot out of Canada, he's saying. I'm not sure. Breaking news. After being suspended for 5 games, I don't know if it's breaking news, right? Oh, maybe the apologizing part is a breaking. I know he had his suspension reduced a bit. You know, this guy, I can't believe they didn't trade him away. And who wants this guy on their team, by the way? He's not the player he was. Maybe he will be again. I don't know. I would think a fresh start would be good for this guy. But I got to tell you, that was one of my, as far as baseball fights go, they're usually boring. And this one wasn't a whole lot different, except for Jose Ramirez, decking and Tim Anderson. And some of the great video memes that came from it with boxing announcers. Awesome. Kenny's having some trouble with his keyboard today. Raid them. Not sure. Saturday, NBC. Can the midshipmen upset the Fighting Irish? I doubt it. Listen, I like Notre Dame this year a lot. Sam Hartman is transferred from Wake Forest. He's got a 6-year of eligibility because of COVID. He's graduated from Wake Forest. He's set all kinds of Wake Forest and NCAA records throwing the football at Wake. He was part of QB1 that I watched last season, I think, before COVID. There's a new one, actually, this year. And interestingly enough, they go back way in time. It's like 2019 is the year that they're showing some quarterbacks from in the newest version of QB1, which is on Tubi. It was pretty good. We finished watching it. Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and can't remember the other kid's name. Deuce Logan, I think, was his name. The other kid who's at Kentucky, and we all know that Richardson and Young are now in the NFL. Logan went to Iowa and transferred to Kentucky. But anyway, the midshipmen, I think, new regime, new head coach. Coach Ken let go. Listen, do I think they'll be better because they fired Coach Ken? No, I don't. I really don't. I think, and in fact, I think I hate the fact that they did this. They started to, I thought, improve a bit last year, but Navy's a bit, again, they may be a military academy, but they still expect their football program to win. And Navy's been pretty competitive until the last few years under Coach Ken. And I thought they were making some strides, and maybe they'll give Notre Dame a game for a little while, but Notre Dame is really good. I talked about Sam Hartman and them having a different type quarterback than they've had in a while. The word is that Marcus Freeman has done a much better job of recruiting skill position players to put around his quarterback than he did. His other quarterbacks, by the way, have all transferred to other locations. Drew Pine, I want to say, I know he's out west. I can't remember which school he ended up in. Bachner is at Alabama competing for the job there. He went there along with Tommy Reese, the offensive coordinator. I think Notre Dame is going to be really good. So Notre Dame's getting ready, and I know they've got Ohio State circled on their schedule. And Ohio State has a lot of question marks. We don't know what to do about replacing C.J. Stroud at quarterback. They do still have some wide receivers and Marvin Harrison Jr., and I'm sure they've got other guys to step up. I think Notre Dame will have a chance to win that game. Next week, that's the only real good game next week is that Navy-Notre Dame game. I shouldn't say it's a good game. A game of interest to me. There might have been one out west that I'm interested in later in the day. But the following weekend, Labor Day weekend, is just loaded with great games from Thursday right through Monday night. Drew, we'll talk a lot about that too on Wednesday, obviously in the college football huddle. The Braves are really good. Braves are good at. I said before the year, best team, and when you factor in everything, offense, defense, pitching, base running, speed, it's the best team in baseball. I picked the Astros and the Braves in the World Series. I have no reason to think that this is still a good possibility. The Astros will make the playoffs. It's a question whether they'll be a division winner or not. Dodgers ahead of the Giants by 12. The Giants have surprised me as well, by the way, but I don't think do you think every other division is still up for grabs, Drew? Dodgers are up. Oh, you said the Dodgers, right? Sorry about that. I don't think the Brewers. I do not think the Brewers are losing. Rangers will be a good race. There's no way the Guardians or the Tigers are catching the Twins. And yes, I did one race I did leave out, and I should not have, was the Orioles and Rays. That will be a pretty good race for the top. And there is some incentive to win the division, I think. I know the expanded playoffs, which again is something else I hate. It'd be long where I just telling you I hate baseball. Deion ripped his team for not backing up a player in a fight. Told them if one fights, they all fight. Deion's had quite an effect out there in Colorado. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but the attitude of the team is going to be much different. And they're virtually all new players. If you're not aware, Deion, I think the last number I saw, they turned over 75. Please go away, that freaking lighting. What the hell is going on? If I turn this one around a little bit, not going to help. Anyway, turned over 75 roster spots, which is unheard of. Some other teams have done it, and you see more of it in this age of transfer portal and whatnot. But 75 roster spots is huge. Sam, and again, do I think Colorado's winning the Pac-12 on their way out? No, I do not. But again, remember, winning 4 conference games would be a huge improvement for this team. One of the worst programs in football. Hartman. Hartman is turning 63 with me. He's had a long storied college football career. He doesn't want to leave. He's sticking around. Probably not going to be a huge player in the next level. Do I think he can make a team? Yeah. Stetson Bennett, by the way, and we'll get to the NFL in a little bit, still fighting for a job. Should be helped a little bit with the injury to Wolford, but he started to kind of regress a bit. He got off to a pretty good start in camp, from what I understand, and kind of backed up a little bit. We'll see how that plays out and how Wolford's injury affects Stetson Bennett and his possibility of making that Rams roster. C.A. Walker Buehler coming back soon. We talked about this a few weeks ago, at least on the Major League Baseball update. It'd be better probably for them if they could use him out of the bullpen. He's missed about a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken. But again, he's a great addition to this staff. When you talk about the Dodgers, were talking about having a very mediocre trade deadline. When you got guys like this coming back from an injury, it lessens the impact of maybe having a weak trade deadline. Or maybe that's why they didn't go all in. But actually they were. I mean, they were. It's not like they weren't trying. They tried for Verlander. They tried for Rodriguez, I think that's his name, from Detroit, which is still a weird story for me. That kid, I understand. I think Drew and I talked about it. He's got family here and he doesn't want to go out west. And okay, well, guess what? If you'd gone and pitched well in a pennant race and helped the Dodgers win a World Series, get to a World Series, whatever, a deep playoff run, you would have enhanced your chances to get a better contract. And if you let the West Coast teams like San Diego, like the Angels, like the Dodgers, obviously, bid for your services, you're going to make a lot of money. Now, if all you care about is being around your family, and I'm not saying family values aren't important, it's okay. But if you don't want to win, I'm happy being a loser so I can stay near my family, then maybe you need another job. If we're not in it to win it, what are we in it for? What did the ex-Jet coach, what the hell's his name? You play to win the game. I'd want to be on a team. And that's where I'm different, I guess. Of course, I'd go play for nothing, right? If I'd had a chance to play in the major leagues, I would have played for nothing. But I'd always want to be on a team that has a chance to win. CA mentions Michael Brantley back for the Astros. He's been hurt much of the year, hasn't he? And John Means back for the Orioles. Should help the Orioles. Definitely some guys coming back from injuries that will help other teams as well down the stretch here. Braves' best balanced team, as I said. When you look at all facets of the game, to me, they're the best team in baseball. Doesn't mean they'll win. Also, Saturday night, Spartans of let me pull up just because let me get to the schedule, shall we? This is week 0. We'll talk more about this, obviously, on Wednesday night. USC gets San Jose State. Listen, I think that's the game that I had some interest in. Those teams from the Mountain West, I think, are underrated. This game's at USC, so USC's not losing this game. But this type of game for a team like San Jose State could be huge. This is the type of game where teams that aren't ranked get a springboard and jump into rankings when they beat or come close to beating a team like this. I'm not saying San Jose State's going to beat USC. I don't think there's any chance. I do think they'll probably score some points. And the other games, I mean, do I care about Hawaii going to Vanderbilt? No. UMass going to New Mexico State? No. So week 0, they really need to beef up a little bit, I think. It used to be there was a really good game to start the season every year, and we aren't getting that the way we used to. Remember the game you used to play in the Meadowlands Classic? Or the Meadowlands Classic, maybe that's what they called it. We just played at the Meadowlands, and we'd match up 2 of the best teams in the country almost every year. I don't remember the last time we played that, but week 0 is a little weak. The Phillies win the division last season? No, they didn't. But what are we talking about here? Did I say that only division winners could make the playoffs? I said the Braves were the best balanced team. Phillies got a lot of problems. Phillies have been very streaky. Now, Phillies are going to make the playoffs, most likely. If they're hot when they get there, they can do what they did last year. But at the end of the day, they won't win, just like they didn't win last year. It's a very flawed team. Now, again, flawed teams everywhere, and the best teams don't always win. I get it. That's why we let too many teams in, and hot teams get a chance to win the championship. Next Thursday, we can take a look at UCF. That's a week from Thursday, not next Thursday, right? That's the 31st. So not this coming Thursday, but the week after. You get a chance to see UCF, who's a really good, listen, and they're playing Kent State, by the way. They should win. But UCF making a big transition to the Big 12. UCF, listen, there's a lot of rumblings that UCF is a budding giant in college football. Now, they got to play a lot of their games 3/4 of the way across the country, which will hurt them a little bit. But that's going to become the norm in college football anyway. But they have some of the best facilities, according to people who know these things, in college football, which is a big factor in recruiting and then a big factor in preparing players. Nebraska, Minnesota, that first. Listen, there's a ton of great games that first weekend. CA's mentioned a couple of them. I'm interested in the NC State-UConn game. NC State looking for a new quarterback after the really good quarterback Leary moved to Kentucky to replace Will Levis. And I want to see if that rebuilding job that Jim Moore has been doing at UConn is going to get any momentum. Now, they didn't play and beat a lot of very good teams last year. This is a decent football team, and I'm interested to see what UConn can do from a local level. You got Florida, which this is probably the best game of the weekend. Utah looking to return a favor to Florida, although Florida is not as highly ranked as Utah was or as highly touted as Utah was when they beat them in the first week last year in Gainesville. A good call on Nebraska and Minnesota. Very interesting. The Matt Rule era gets underway. That weekend, we also get Stanford and Ohio. Saturday's when it starts to kick in, right? Virginia at Tennessee, interesting game. Colorado and Dion get to open up against TCU. Just looking through some of these other games. We'll go back to baseball. We don't have to stick here. We're stream of consciousing it a lot today. Boise State and Washington. Talked about it today. Yeah, I thought this game was at Washington. Mac was saying it was at Boise. I didn't think it was. Boise wants to make a statement here, though, with the Pac-12 folding and maybe a lot of these teams from the Mountain West going to the Pac-12 if they try to keep the Pac-12 alive. Boise State for years has had their the Pac-12 has thumbed their nose at Boise State for years. Even Boise State, they've had a pretty good football program for a couple decades now. They've fallen back a little bit. but they're still a really good football program. And even when they were really good, the Pac-12 would turn their nose up at them. Notre Dame, after beating Navy, will get an easy game against Tennessee State. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Nobody cares about that. I'm probably missing some games. I'm going through here kind of quick, just looking for games that would be interesting. Texas San Antonio at Houston. Texas San Antonio joins the American Conference. Houston just left it for the Big 12. These are two really good football teams. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. That's a game I'm excited to see. That Saturday night. West Virginia at Penn State. First time they played in a while. This used to be a great rivalry game that went away when Penn State joined the Big 10, and then later West Virginia went out to join the Big 12. North Carolina and South Carolina. They haven't played every year for a while. Coastal Carolina at UCLA. That should be a good game. And then Sunday, you've got Oregon State at previously mentioned San Jose State. Should be an interesting game. LSU, two teams that might be in the same league very soon. LSU and Florida State. Huge game for both these teams. I think Florida State wins this game. We'll see. And Clemson at Duke. Duke's going to have a 9-win season. This is not going to be one of them, most likely. Morning to Anthony Price. How are you, buddy? Anthony, you're into football, I think, right? The Fantasy Football League. You might be one of the guys I missed when I was naming some of the viewers that were in. Orioles were scaring me last night giving up runs. Look at this team. Again, other than the bump in the road, this is a great feel-good story for baseball, the way they built this team, the way they got a bunch of non-household names, at least at the moment. They'll be household names soon, and many of them are starting to be, like Rushman. They did the not the players, but the organization kind of tainted this feel-good story with the way they treated Kevin Brown, their announcer, but the Orioles are a great story. And with the Yankees probably not making the playoffs, I'm not going to necessarily root for people, but I won't root against the Orioles. I can tell you that. Irony alert. Oh, we love irony. For only 2 months, 3 with playoffs, Rodriguez could have accepted a trade to the West Coast and used free agency to sign with an East Coast team in the offseason. Don't disagree. I mean, that's what I was saying, Drew. All he could do, unless he fell on his face, and maybe he felt, and again, if this is the case, I wonder about his makeup as well. Unless he felt, I don't want to take a chance on failing on a big stage and costing myself money. That's no way to think. I hope to God that's not what he's thinking, because I don't want him unless it's a small market team and he's going to get less money. He could have gone out there and parlayed some success with a high-profile team deep into the playoffs potentially into a pretty good contract wherever he wanted to go, right? East Coast, if that's where he wants to be. The Yankees would be more than happy to overpay him and then, watch him sit on the DL for 6 months. Speaking of which, Rendon's going to come back again and start getting banged all over the ballpark here this coming week. So we got that to look forward to as Yankee fans. Brantley, several rehab games not activated yet. He has missed much of the season. Has he played at all? Eddie George coaching TCU. Did not know that. Head coach? I did not know that one. That one slipped by me. That's a good catch, Carlos. Carlos up to speed on the Tennessee doings in college football as he spent some time at Austin Peay until he took advantage of the No Child Left Behind program. That was a cheap shot, Carlos. I'm sorry. Carlos, a proud graduate of Austin Peay University. They've got about 4 or 5 players that have draft potential. Tennessee State, good. Listen, I really like these smaller programs in college football. That's why, who knows? maybe all these super conferences will not bury the smaller conferences and the higher, lesser profile teams like Tennessee State the way I think they will. And maybe it'll help them, because people get tired of seeing, listen, you're going to have a hard time finding undefeated teams anywhere in the country other than in the smaller conferences because they're all going to beat each other up. You change your name to the Honey Badgers, right? Okay, I think that's one I couldn't figure out who it was this morning. So I'm only lacking Jay. Then I think I named all of our other players. I don't know who Jay is. I'll try to figure it out. TSU is picked to finish 5th, but potential is there to sneak in a few games. That's as much as I thought we'd talk about Tennessee State. I'm a little shocked we got all that way. Will the Cardinals be the worst team in the NFL? We can switch to the NFL here for a bit. We can go back to baseball. I'll switch to the NFL. I got a few topics. I do want to talk about Jose Altuve. Well, I did already talk about him. Nobody really bit. So, again, we want to keep things rolling on where you guys want to spend your time talking. And if somebody wants to weigh in on the whole Jose Altuve legacy, I think he'll go down as one of the best second basemen ever to play the game. Just want to throw that out there before we jump into the NFL. We'll talk about some of this. Drew's question was, where'd I go? Will the Cardinals be the worst team in the NFL? Is the East is the toughest division in football in my league. Again, I'm probably a bit biased. The AFC East, defensively, definitely very good. But again, I don't think it's bad offensive football either. When you got Josh Allen, you got Aaron Rodgers, you've got the Miami offense has got Tyreek Hill, and some other Waddle, and it's just a matter of whether they're going to have a quarterback healthy enough to throw them the football. And again, I keep telling you, you are going to see a much improved offense in New England. You guys can keep doubting me if you want. The over-unders are horrendous, but as far as the worst team in football, I tell you what, Carolina is going to be really bad too, Drew. The teams I would say will battle for the worst team in football will be the Cardinals, the Panthers. Falcons are going to be tough. Bijan Robinson looks really good. I know it's preseason. I don't put a lot of stock in that. But even in camp, the word is he really looks like a top-notch NFL runner. I think the Broncos are going to be worse than people think. I won't put them in the worst team in football, though. Colts, if Jonathan Taylor were to sit out or get hurt, yeah, I think it's very little doubt. I think it's the Cardinals and the Panthers at the moment are the two worst teams in the NFL. That Saturday before the Sunday FSU game, Tar Heels and Gamecocks. I did mention North Carolina and South Carolina playing another kind of rivalry game that hasn't happened much in the last few decades for various reasons and conference alignments and such. Anthony has hope. I hope leaving the Pac-12 will give Oregon a higher rank in the poll. Well, it won't this year. This is a good football team. Their best path, to me, to the playoff, even a 12-team playoff, was in the Pac-12. In a 12-team playoff. You're certainly playing a lot, a higher volume of good teams in the Big Ten or the Big 18, whatever the hell they are. It's driving me nuts that these University of Higher Learning don't even know how to keep track of the number of teams in their conferences. Listen, look at on the landscape. I've talked about this in a college football huddle, and I'll talk about it here. If I had my druthers, I'd turn the clock back to 1995. That's not an opportunity, or unless I get a DeLorean that, I can get struck by lightning. I can't move back to 1995. These conferences, the realignment is what it is. Until there's a super conference, the regional aspect of football is disappearing. With the landscape that we're on today, then Oregon's best path to staying relevant was the Big Ten. Maybe the Big 12 would have been a better fit. But again, there's a lot of reasons. With UCLA and USC in the Big Ten, it makes more sense for Oregon to go to the Big Ten. I don't like it, but this is the reality that I have to start living with. I can't just keep bitching about what's already happened when I got a lot to bitch about what's going to happen in the future. As a HBCU, what the hell is that? Notre Dame will give TSU some TV time. Not sure where we're going there. Maybe Jay is the unknown fellow who won the pick'em last year. It might be. Maybe it's the same guy. I got to believe it's somebody off my personal page, so I'll do some checking. I think his name is Jay because I think Jay's in his team name. So I'll check my. Actually, let me do it. Just for the hell of it, because this will be good TV. Watch me search my Facebook friends. Let's see if I can. God, I got so many freaking messages to reply to. Let me see if I can figure out who Jay is, and we'll go on. We'll continue this conversation. We're literally all over the place today. Can't you search your friends? There you go. Jay. Gotta have the right keyboard. Could be Jay Silk, who's a cousin of mine. Could be Captain Jack. Could be Captain Jack. Could be Jay Tepper. I got too many Jay. Jay Hafe. JJ. Jay Bishop. Jay Powell. Jay Bobble. I know it's not Boyd Henry. Doubtful is Tim Kaloje. Jay Ness. Trying to think of people I might have. I'm going to say it's either Jay Silk, who is a distant cousin, or Captain Jack Levy, who also will have shows on Northeast Streaming Sports. Big Raiders fan. So maybe it's one of those guys. Anthony, do I agree with cutting the preseason because of injuries, too many players getting hurt, or that shit? It's the game they play. It's the game they play. Can't cut preseason games. The fact that starters don't play enough in preseason, you can only have 10 practices with pads in the preseason, or 10 practices where you hit, is why we get such crappy football in September and guys still get hurt. I've said this forever, and I know I get disagreements from the Mad New Yorker and some other people. Just go ask guys, watch. Let's have this question and bring it up on the Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat show on Sundays when I'm there for that, from that 8 to 8:30 slot. Jim Jeffcoat, former NFL great, borderline Hall of Fame talent, by the way. Played with Cowboys and the Bills. Great guy. Proud that I can call Jim Jeffcoat a friend. I really am. And he's really got a very logical way to look at sports. But we talked about this a lot. You don't hit in practice, so you don't get used to getting hit. There's a again, similar to what we talked about in baseball, there are instincts that you pick up getting hit that allow you to absorb the punishment better. Your body gets more tolerant to hits. You learn how to fall certain ways so you don't get hit. That doesn't mean you can do it every time and not get injured, but it leads the lack of hitting in preseason and the lack of the starters playing preseason games and getting hit leads to them getting hurt in the regular season. It leads to horrible September football. Now, with that said, nothing's going to change, Anthony. When they go to 18 games, which is inevitable, regular season games, they'll cut another preseason game. But if they're going to have them like they have them now, what's the point? I think there's more value in the dual practices that they have. Patriots had one with Green Bay this past week before they played on last night. Very chippy these practices were too, by the way, and it seemed to carry over to last night's game a little bit. But no, I think, look, at injuries are part of the game. Guys are going to get hurt. When you try to protect people from getting hurt, more guys get hurt. In baseball, it happens. You try to protect pitchers, as I said. Check out the meme I put about Nolan Ryan the other day and talking about my pitchers argument. And when you don't play guys in preseason football games or let them get hit in training camp, guys get hurt. That's what it is. Did Clowney find a team? Where is he going? Let me check this out. You know, he's not a bad football player, but he's a bit of a clown, not to have a pun. He signs with the Ravens. Probably a good fit for him. You know, he hasn't lived up to the hype he had coming into the league, but he hasn't been horrendous. Oh, I love Duggar. Kyle Duggar is one of my favorite Patriots. Again, great find out of Division II. Maybe Division III. Where'd Kyle Duggar go to school? If that's what we're talking about. If you're not talking about Kyle Duggar, I apologize, because now I'm going to. Can't remember where he went to school now. Let's see. He went to... First player to be drafted out of, by the way, he went to a school that nobody's ever heard of, guaranteed. If you've heard of this school, you'll win a prize. I'll send you the hat I lost last night at dinner. He is a 32nd. He was the 37th pick in the 2020 draft. He's gotten better every single year. He graduated from Lenore Ryan University with a bachelor's degree in psychology. That was just recently, by the way. Pretty sure this is a Division III school he went to, guys. Let me check it out. College career. Division II. Kyle Duggar is just a great story in the NFL. And a great player. Key to that Patriot defense. Nobody knows Jay, but watch him win the season, right? I must know Jay. And at least, you know, friends of a friend, because he's on my face. He's got to be a Facebook friend, because the last place I posted it was on my personal page yesterday before we went out to meet friends. And when I got back last night, we were full. Jay from Jay and the Americans died, unfortunately. Jay Black passed away, I think, a year or so ago. Murray Bauer, who's a friend of mine on Facebook, best friends with Roy White, one of the really fun interviews that I did during some of my interview series. He was good friends with Jay Black, actually, as well. So, good reference, though, Jay, or Rick. Good pickup. You're more likely to get hurt without game experience than hitting. Pretty simple premise. And again, I didn't finish that thought, I don't think, Rick, but Jim Jeffcoat always has agreed with me. Whenever we have these conversations on that show, it comes around to that. And you need to hit for your body to get used to being hit. So, seems pretty much common sense, doesn't it? What else is going on around the NFL since we're on the NFL here? I don't know that I'm going to get into the. Is there anything you guys? Let me look quick at. Hang on. Takeaways. Purdy played in his game. I guess that's relevant news. Brock Purdy makes his return, which is important to consider. The outcomes of these games aren't that important. The Patriot games I talked about last night, let's start there. Actually, I will start there to see if there's any discussion. Does anybody have a problem, being this was a preseason game, stopping that game when they had what looked like a really severe injury in the field? Players shaken. Patriots team certainly shaken. Bill Belichick led the way to cancel this game. LaFleur was right with him. Matthew Slater, longtime special teams captain and player on this Patriot team, 16 years. He's played for Bill Belichick, and he said it was his proudest moment playing under his coach. Now, I'm going to say, right thing to do last night. I don't think this is the same as the Hamlin situation last year, where if this was a regular season game, and we talked about this in the Jim and Mac, Jack, and Jim show this morning. I don't think that this would be have ended this game if it was a regular season game. Nor do I think it should have. You can't stop it for every game. Last year, that was an isolated incident that warranted what they did. If you put a rule in, Jack Hirsch talked about should the league put a rule in the game about games being stopped, not being stopped, whatever. You can't put rules in to dictate this type of thing. You just have to do what seems right in the moment. And if you ended every game, anytime there was a serious injury and a guy was carted off and we weren't sure of his condition, again, you'd be ending games every week. So you can't really do that. So, but you guys feel free. I'd love to get your comments and we can talk about that. But I think the right decision was made certainly last night in a meaningless preseason game.
I think that's true.
Why is that thing doing that? What else did we see last night? Tua played last night in his first preseason action. Didn't play very well. I didn't think. Steelers offense is rolling, winning over the Bills. Won't care. Colts rest Anthony Richardson. They're rushing this kid. I really think he's a great talent. He is loaded with talent, but he has yet. He's part of this QB1 series that I'm watching, so it's his last year in high school football. He wasn't that good then. He missed most of his senior year with injury. He never put together a good season at Florida. I'm not sure he played good back-to-back games. People are intrigued with his physical assets and athleticism. So am I. Doesn't mean I make him the 7th pick in the draft and make him my starting quarterback. So we'll see. Titans played Malik Willis most of the game, beat Rick's Vikings. I don't think there's much to look at there. Again, Vikings fans, any fans, I've changed my opinion of Kirk Cousins a lot watching quarterback on Netflix. Watch the series if you hadn't had a chance. He's an interesting guy. And it's hard not to come out of that show liking Kirk Cousins. Even if, he's had his failures on the field, watching the way he handles some of this stuff is really kind of interesting. We talked about the Bolden thing. Purdy gets into some games as a 49ers win. Garoppolo got to play with the Raiders for a little bit last night, test his arm. So some of the stuff going around the NFL preseason. Is there other news going on? Saints medical episode led to Graham arrest. What is this? Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham was arrested in Newport Beach, California on Friday night on suspicion of being under the influence of narcotics. Former great tight end. He had a seizure that resulted in being disoriented. That's what the team doctors are saying. Graham was found wandering in traffic, according to TMZ. Not a good look. Purdy, as we said, took 10 snaps, and he feels he's getting there. His arm feels good. No major issues there. Buccaneers. I thought Wolford was still with the Rams. I made a mistake. John Wolford got carted off with a neck injury. He's with the Buccaneers now, though. So that will not affect Stetson Bennett's status, if you will. Not a lot of other news going on. I've been watching very closely. I don't want to. We're going to talk some quarterback tiers and whatnot here in a second. Texans were pleased with the strides that Stroud has made against Miami. We'll see how that works out. Saints and Chargers game could be affected by the hurricane that's coming in, but downgraded to a category 1, but that's still a major situation. So, let's see, we got some comments, and then I'll what's this? Yep, Kyle's a heck of a guy. Kyle, who did I talk about? I don't remember talking about a Kyle. I must have. Bryce Young didn't look good. Yeah, it's too early. We talked about this on the Mac and Jack and Jim show today. This is the conversation I walked in on when they brought me in the studio. Was Mac ripping Bryce Young? That team's bad, really bad. There's no good players around them, I don't think. I just don't think that this is a good football team, and I'm not judging Bryce Young off of one game, 2 games now in the preseason. He's gonna struggle this year. Bryce Young, I still think, will be okay. I'm still going to tell you Will Levis at the end of the day will be the best quarterback come out of this class, but maybe that's just me trying to stick to my guns. I was wrong that he's most ready to play now, obviously, but I think Bryce Young will be fine. Again, he's another kid in this QB1 series, comes off really good. It was his senior year at Maynard Dye. I'm probably saying it wrong. One of the powers across the country. What's amazing to me way high school football is today is that these teams are traveling across the country to play. St. Francis and Baltimore went out there to play them in California. They came east to play, I don't know, somebody else in I don't remember where. But these teams, can you imagine the money they must have to raise for these athletic programs? Looks good in shorts and a T-shirt. Let's see how his brain works. I think if we're talking about Bryce Young, he's got this kid's a bright kid. This is a really smart kid. If you watch this series and see this kid's thought processes during football games in high school, you'll see why he was so good in college. And I think he'll be okay. Listen, do I think he's going to the Hall of Fame? No, but I think he'll be a very serviceable NFL quarterback, and I think his brain works just fine. The game is faster, and it does take time. To Anthony's point, the game is faster in the NFL. There is no doubt. I always laugh at thoughts that the Georgia Bulldogs or the Alabama Crimson Tide or whatever great college football program we're talking about could come and beat the worst team in the NFL. And you know what? They can't. They never could. Are there some better players on the Georgia team than on the Carolina Panthers or the Arizona Cardinals? Yup. But they would still get beat. A team of college all-stars would get beat. Because the game is faster. These guys are faster. They're better conditioned. There's a lot of factors. And the game will slow down. Eventually, the game slows down for most of these guys. Some guys, it never does. For most of these guys, but you have to remember, this guy played at the highest level of football possible for him at the time on every level. This made her, and I know I'm saying it wrong, this made her day at out in California. It's like a college program. There's no better football program in the country. There's some really good programs across the country. There's no better high school football program than this. It's like a college program. And then he played at the highest level in the SEC. He will figure it out. CA says the Vikings are going to be interesting, solid offense and rebuilding defense on the fly. You know, let me just take a look at something with this team. I think they are interesting, I will say. The defense needs to improve. They do have a lot of touches to distribute that Dalvin Cook would have gotten. So there's still that. I mean, is Madison, who's going to be the main guy there? Or is it just going to get spread out between Madison and Chandler and whomever else? Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, I like a lot coming out of USC. Their rookie wide receiver. I like him a lot. So I think this offense will, again, I think it's going to depend on Kirk Cousins. Does Kirk Cousins come up big or small in big moments? I don't see this team winning 13 games again this year. What did they win last year, Rick? Were they 13-4? Let's see if I got it here. What was this team last year? Oh, there goes the guy with the saw. 13-4. Good football team. Minus 3-point differential. For them to have won 13 games, 9 more than they lost. See how I did that math? That was awesome. With a minus 3-point differential? Amazing. Defense needs to be better. The offense is really good. And I think it might be better. Will Levis got hurt Thursday, and his ego and confidence outshines his football play. Again, I don't expect him. I made a mistake saying he was likely the most football-ready, NFL-ready quarterback in the draft. I still think at the end of the day, Will Levis will be a good NFL quarterback. Again, that's just a projection. I don't have a crystal ball, just a feeling I have. Speaking of wandering in traffic, did you see Haskins Estate settled with the driver of the dump truck? His alcohol level was 3 times passing. Yes. I did see this. It's a very sad story. Dwayne Haskins had some issues. Never lived up to the potential he had as, I think, the number 1 pick in the draft. Close to it if he wasn't. Just a sad story, and the way it's ending is sad as well. A lot of sad stories in football this week. This one's tragic. The whole the Blindside story is just very sad. Another feel-good story that maybe isn't quite as feel-good as we thought it was. And I don't know which side to blame. The way they're pointing fingers at each other. Did Brian Orr try to shake down the Tuohys? Did the Tuohys steal money from him by forcing him to sign a conservatorship and cheat him out of money? They say no. Who's right? I know Hugh Freeze, who was his coach in high school and is very close friends with this family, backs the family and says when the truth comes out, we'll see. It's a sad story, though. Oh, Kyle Duggar. Yes, love Kyle. I lose track sometimes, CA. I apologize because when we jump back and forth, my stream of consciousness needs a little bump now and again. Love Kyle Duggar, man. Can't say it enough. I think the Seahawks have the best wide receiver core. Well, let's take a look at that, shall we? Time we got. I do want to get into some quarterback chatter here. Oh, let's just take a look at their depth. We all know about DK Metcalf, great player. Sometimes he's got a 10-cent head, but great player. Tyler Lockett, I like. I do like the signing of Smith Najiba. Stays healthy. I think that, or not the signing, but the drafting of. I think this team comes down to whether Geno Smith's year last year was an aberration or a sign that he finally got it. You talked about quarterbacks who the game was too fast for. Geno Smith was a big bust. Again, he wasn't a number one draft pick, or he was a number 2, I think, maybe the first pick in the second round even for the Jets back in the day. But he never got it together. The game always looked too fast for Geno. Sometimes it takes a long time for it to click. I'm not sold that Geno's going to have the year this year that he had last year, but listen, I'm open to the fact that now Geno finally gets it. And he does have some pretty good weapons. That offense with Kenneth Walker at running back and those 3 wide receivers that I mentioned, plus some decent guys coming off the bench, it's a pretty good team. Rick, that case is a mess. There's missing information, evidence about this tragic accident. There is, but there's no doubt the guy with 3 times the legal limit of alcohol and maybe other things in his system was wandering around in traffic. It's a tragic story, no matter how you look at it. You know. I don't know. I guess I don't. The facts are not totally at the top of my mind yet. So, again, they're partial settlements, but they've had to revise them because, their son was not totally in the right. He wasn't just walking in the street. It's a tragic story, and I'm not going to get into it and debate who was right. I did hear some of that too. Sounds a little, I don't know, far-fetched, if you will. Why would somebody drug him? There's a story claiming Haskins was drugged and a group tried to extort money from him. I did hear all that too. Again, it's a tragic story, and I'm going to leave it at that. I didn't get in the pick'em. Thought I did. I'll make sure I take care of that this weekend, Drew. I think I was on my phone and I wanted to do it from my computer, so I'll make sure I do it. Maybe when I sign off here today, I'll get in there. I apologize for that, but I'm definitely in there. Don't worry. We talked about that. One thing about the quarterback. We're talking about Geno Smith, talking about Kirk Cousins, talking about some of these other guys. I mean, now I can't find what I had here. I had something to refer to, which is now missing. Here it is. Oh, that's not it here. What the hell? There we are. So the quarterback tiers in the NFL. Let's see if you agree with these choices, okay? So tier 1. And these are based off, this is an article from a few weeks ago, I think, from the Athletic. And they ranked all the quarterbacks. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, Joe Burrow. I got no argument there. Number 3, Josh Allen. I think some people will probably maybe dispute that a little bit. I'm not going to. I think Josh Allen is number 3, solid. They pick Aaron Rodgers 4, Justin Herbert 5. I would have had Herbert at 4. I would have put their second tier now is Jalen Hurts, who I'd move into the top tier. Again, I was never a big backer of Jalen Hurts. What I saw last year, If that continues into this year, Jalen Hurts is in his top tier. I rank him ahead of Aaron Rodgers at the moment now. So Rodgers would fall to 6 for me. John Gonzalez is with us from the Sports Authorities. Thank you for stopping in, John. Love John's site group. Guys, go join if you have not, the Sports Authority. Some great stuff there. Let me see what else we got here before I move on to our next tier. This is the Bills finally getting to a Super Bowl. Is the Bills? Are they? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I've said for a while now, and I do think Josh Allen is solidly the third best quarterback in football. There's holes around the team. I think Dalvin Cook's brother in Buffalo is going to have a breakout year this year. I really do. I know the Mad New York will tell you their offensive line stinks. Almost every team in football has a bad offensive line, it seems. Not every team, but a lot. Depth is a problem all over the league because of the money the top guys are making, by the way. But I think that AFC East is close enough where any of these teams could win the division. Any of these teams could finish last. Any of them. Again, John Gonzalez, good to have you with us. So are the Bills, listen, I have said this last year. McDermott's on the clock. This team needs to get over the hump, or there could be some changes. Starting with the coaching staff. Quarterback's not going anywhere. They're not going to blow it all up. Big changes on defense. We'll see. Drew Allen, Drew. I'll get in soon as well. Get a good thing I'm retired. Fantasy baseball, 2 fantasy pick'ems and Survivor. I got to start a Survivor pool too. Just got the invite to the big one. $150. And I guess if anybody wants the information, I'll be glad to send it to them because they're always looking for new people. $150. You get one buy. You can buy your way back in once, I think, for $75 or whatever. I'd send you all the rules. Last year, this pool was worth $126,000. Happy to have anybody get in that might be interested. I partner up with my buddy, and we made it to week 12. Last year, we were out in week 1. The 2 years before that, we got into the final 40. I think I'd rather go out in week 1. Back to the tiers. Tier 2, they've got Hurts, who I said I think they've got him at 6. I have him ahead of. I have him behind Justin Herbert and ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I like Lamar Jackson, but I don't think he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is 7 in my book. They've got Jackson and Lawrence 7 and 8. Dak Prescott 9. Listen, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson. I just said his name. I said I'd never say his name on his show again. Deshaun Watson at 11. Deshaun Watson didn't play that well, and I know he was rusty. He didn't play that well last year when he came back. Kirk Cousins at 12. I'm dropping Prescott. Matthew Stafford's at 10, by the way. I'm dropping Prescott, Stafford, and Watson. I'm putting Kirk Cousins ahead of those guys. As I go down here, I don't understand this. Tier 3, Kyler Murray at 13. Why? Derek Carr at 14. Jared Goff 15. Russell Wilson 16. Got to be based off his whole career, not last year. Tua 17. Jimmy G 18. Daniel Jones 19. Listen, Mad New Yorker, you can rip Daniel Jones all you want, and I am not a Giant fan. We know that. Daniel Jones is better than Jimmy G. He's better than Tua. He's better than Russell Wilson right now. He's better than Jared Goff. He's better than Derek Carr, and he's better than Kyler Murray. He's probably better than Deshaun Watson unless that guy returns to his previous form. This is ridiculous, man. He's some third-tier quarterback, and there's a whole bunch lumped in here. Geno Smith, Justin Fields. Get a little accuracy. Justin Fields moves up this list a lot as well. Ryan Tannehill should be at the bottom of this list. Mac Jones, fine, 23. I'm not going to argue with that. I will tell you this much. Mac Jones will be in the top 15 before this year's out. Mac Jones is going to return to at least what he was as a rookie, if not better, under the tutelage of Bill O'Brien. All signs are pointing to it in training camp. If the weapons are good enough, if there's no major injuries, it's a lot of ifs, I get it. If the all-line can protect him a little bit, and bringing in Zeke, by the way, Ezekiel Elliott, to be a role player in this offense will help him. And now Zeke is not the player that he was a few years ago. We know that, but he's good in short yardage. He's great in pass protection. All things that Rashonda Stevenson struggles at. He's not a good blocker. Short yardage, though, since I did pick Rashonda and probably will try to in some other drafts, I don't like the short yardage deal here. I'm going to get to your comments here in a second. Let me just finish this off. Brock Purdy, 24. I'm fine with that. Brock Purdy had a nice run last year, but I need to see more. Kenny Pickett, fine. Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder. Again, these are all guys. And then there's the Gardner Minshew. Interestingly enough, they don't rank Anthony Richardson, who's going to be the starter for the Colts, but they rank Gardner Minshew last. So what kind of conversation do we have here? Trevor Lawrence is better than Hurts. There's a possibility, John, that will be true. Right now, right this minute, based off last year, Hurts is better. I think going forward, Trevor Lawrence will probably be better than Jalen Hurts. And he may move up this list. I think he'll move past, again, right now he's 8 on this list. I could see Trevor Lawrence this year, next year, throughout his career, passing Lamar Jackson, passing Jalen Hurts, maybe passing Justin Herbert, certainly passing Rodgers because of his age. I can see Trevor Lawrence in his top 4 easily as soon as this year. And there's the obligatory nonsensical comment from Carlos Chavez. So he should be in the 30s, right? So first of all, there aren't any 30s. There's 130. So you would rank him behind, just to show the ludicrousy of your statement. I know you're trying to be what's the word I'm looking for? Outrageous and have a hot take here. But so you're going to tell me he's better. He's worse than Gardner Minshew. He's worse than Desmond Ridder. He's worse than Sam Howell. He's worse than Baker Mayfield. He's worse than Jordan Love, who we've never seen take a snap. He's worse than Kenny Pickett. He's worse than Brock Purdy. Purdy had played 6 games last year. He's better than Mac Jones. Right now, I'm going to tell you as a Patriot fan, he's better than Mac Jones. That may not be the case at the end of the year. He's better than Ryan Tannehill. He's better than Justin Fields. He's better than Jimmy G. He's better than Tua. He's better than Russell Wilson. I already went through this. You've got him out of the top 30. He's in the top 15 at least. Daniel Jones is gone. John, we part ways, friends, here. Daniel Jones has gotten better every single year of his career. And, John, I don't know if you're a Giants fan or not. I'm going to assume you're either a Giant or a Jet fan. Based on the comment, I'm going to assume you're a Giant fan. So let me know, I guess, in the comments. And I'm going to tell you again what I think. Daniel Jones has gotten better every single year of his career. Every year he's gotten better. And he's cut down on his turnovers, and he's made better decisions of when to run the ball and when not to. This team went to the playoffs for the first time in I don't know how long, 8 years. He had to live through a bunch of different coordinators and coaches. It's not Daniel Jones' fault that the Giants picked him 6th in the draft and he should not have been picked 6th. That much we'll agree on. But Giant fans have held that against him since he's been here. We'll see. That's why we play the games. We'll find out. I'm curious about. I don't remember, John, from looking at your comments on some other stuff, whether you're a Giant fan or not. And I'm talking about his age. Whose age? Daniel Jones. Random fact. Someone said the Chargers bringing in Kellen Moore as a move to take over as head coach soon over Brandon Staley. Anthony, I don't know that's that far-fetched. I like Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, I mean, there was a time where it was thought was being groomed to be the Cowboy coach, and he kind of fell out of favor there. I think Kellen Moore is a good football mind, and Brandon Staley, this team is too good to not be in the playoffs the last couple of years. And a lot of it is because of Brandon Staley's game management. Brandon Staley's just a good X's and O's guy. His game management is atrocious. And it's cost this team the last couple of years. I like this team a lot, this Charger team. I think it's loaded on offense. I think it's got a really good defense. And you're right. It's possible there could be a change there, and it could happen during the season if they don't get off to a good start. And it could happen after the season if they have another season implode because of horrible game management by Brandon Staley. Well, I got to tell you, John, if you think Derek Carr, he'll probably have great numbers because Derek Carr's a guy who puts up numbers. But Derek Carr is a guy who's not going to win playoff games for you. I've seen it. We've seen it. They should have beaten the Bengals 2 years ago. As they're driving for the winning touchdown, and he doesn't even get the ball to the end zone on 4th down and 4th and goal. Again, this is a guy without good football instincts in my mind. Good talent. And I just don't think the Saints are going to be that good. I could be wrong. Derek Carr will have big years. He could have a big year. He could have really good numbers. Does that make him a great quarterback? Carlos hates Daniel Jones, yes. I'll give you that he's better than some of these guys. He's pretty even. Tannehill's terrible. Terrible. I figured I assumed correctly, John. It's very funny, and again, I'm the furthest thing from a Giant fan in my mind. And even my own team, I try to look at objectively. It's hard to do, obviously. But when they stink, I tell you they stink. And when they're good, I tell you they're good. Daniel Jones is a good NFL quarterback. Daniel Jones is good enough to win playoff games. You've got an organization now in place that has brought him to where, and I don't think they're happy that they don't think he doesn't need to continue to progress. So I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Because he needs to get better, but he's gotten better every year of his career. And now that he got some solid coaching from a guy who knows offense and knows quarterbacks, two guys, if you will, the head coach and the offensive coordinator, they think he's the guy. So, I mean, if you don't like Daniel Jones, and I know what the Mad New Yorkers' take on this is, I'm sure yours is the same then, John, that they shouldn't have paid him $40 million a year. Who's going to be better? Who was available and I asked Carlos this the whole time, and he would say anybody, who was available for the Giants not to sign Daniel Jones to the contract they signed him to, and that they would have gotten better play from, or even as good. Actually, in baseball caps, they kind of look alike. Oh, Tannehill and Jones. Put a helmet on them. They all look alike. Jones is not a top 20. He's a turnover machine. That's not accurate. Are you going to blame him for his early career where he was, again, overdrafted, needed to learn, had to learn on the job? Are we going to penalize him for that? He was not a turnover machine last year, John. John and I were at our first dispute on air. Might have to bring you on next week to. I'll bring you and Carlos on. We'll debate this. I'll have 2-on-1. Let me look at Daniel Jones's numbers from last year, John. 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's a lot of turnovers. Where's his fumbles? I thought we listed fumbles here. Maybe it's under rushing. I know he's reduced his fumbles greatly also the last few years. By the way, his interceptions have gone from 12 to 10 to 7 to 5. 35 interceptions in 472 attempts is really good football. Really good. He's blood awful. Again, before last year, I probably would have agreed with you. But he was getting better every single year. His rating has gone up not every year. Well, which was better in his rookie year than it was in his second and third year. He efficiently ran this offense. Now, again, maybe you see him. I don't watch every play of the Giants like I watch every play of the Patriots. But, again, man. John, who would you rather have? That's my question. Nobody ever answers for me. And don't tell me you didn't have a chance at Aaron Rodgers. Well, maybe you did. I don't know. I don't think you did. But what quarterback was available? You can't just say I wanted so-and-so when he's not available. Who would you rather have had going forward after last season, seeing what you saw from Daniel Jones? It wasn't enough for you. Going 9-6-1. Winning a playoff game for the first time in forever wasn't enough for you. Who would you want to be the quarterback that was available? You want Tyrod Taylor to be your quarterback? Bolts win the West. I like the Bolts, CA. Listen, that's a tough division too, depending on what the Broncos do this year and the Raiders with Jimmy G. The West will be tough. Last year it wasn't nearly as tough as people thought it would be before the season. And that's the thing about, we say before the season, that's the best division. We thought about the West last year. We thought about the NFC East. East kind of played out that way. And I say it about the AFC East this year. Could be totally wrong. Barkley's making Daniel Jones good. And listen, Barkley's going to make anybody good. So I don't disagree, right? How many quarterbacks today make the players around them better? Mahomes, Jones. That's what Tom Brady always did, by the way. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I've defended Jones for quite a while now, and I said he would be better. Barkley, there's not a quarterback in the league Barkley wouldn't make better. You don't think Patrick Mahomes would be better with Barkley playing in his backfield? He would. You don't think Aaron Rodgers would be better? Josh Allen would be better? How good would Josh Allen be with Barkley playing in his Backfield. 2 versus 1. That's no fun. Bring in Barkley, and that would be fun. Let's see how that will go. Barkley hasn't played yet. Well, nobody plays in the preseason. Linda or Mac, whoever's here. Welcome from Mac Sports, Mac and Jack Sports Show. Linda or Mac. Linda, the producer. Mac, the talent. Big Giant fans, by the way. Barkley probably won't play in preseason. But he's signed. And yes, he does make any quarterback better. Does he make Daniel Jones better? A lot, without a doubt. If he wasn't there, this is why I said he needed to be signed, and you couldn't just let him sit the year out. And they probably should find a way to get him signed long term, even though the running back situation is what it is, how it is viewed in the NFL today. There are a few exceptions to these interchangeable running back conversations. Barkley's one of them. McCaffrey is one of them. But there aren't that many. There are a lot of good running backs, and they feel they're interchangeable. Some of them are not interchangeable. You can't just replace a Barkley. Gardner Minshew. I think it's hilarious that maybe I can take no credence in the rankings The Athletic did, because Gardner Minshew is not even the starter. Or maybe they have great foresight and know that he will be the starter because Anthony Richardson is probably going to be a bad time. Scott Colby, welcome to the show today. Another great LTS contributor. Scott is in our fantasy football league. He will be part of this. We'll be fighting over all of those wonderful Patriot players. Barkley will get a 3-year contract, Linda / Mac says. Possibly. I don't doubt he won't play in the preseason, which is not necessarily a good thing, as we talked about this morning. Well, I don't know if we talked about it. Did we talk about it on the Mac and Jack show this morning? I don't remember. But we have in the past, and I always have Jim Jeffcoat on my side here, that these guys need to be playing. These guys need to be in pads more in this preseason. They need to be playing in game situations than getting hit and getting their bodies ready to actually get hit in real games. That's why guys get hurt. It's why games stink in September. Botkins wants to make sure that we'll stay awake for the whole draft. Well, it is 8 o'clock at night, so tell him I'll put it on auto pick if I pass out, in case I pass out. Tell him I've stayed awake for Dan Harris's draft. It's been going on for 4 days. I've been up the whole time. Not. Carlos says Barkley's good, but he shouldn't have to block. Every running back needs to be able to block. God. It's a basic skill for a running back to be able to block and pass protection. And if you can't do it, you shouldn't be playing. It's cost a lot of really good running backs playing time. What do we got left here? 5 minutes? Anything I didn't get to? Didn't get to FIBA. I didn't get to the FIBA World Cup. That's all right. Drew, let's talk about the running backs most likely to get injured, making their backups good fantasy possibilities. That's a good. That's actually a very good exercise. Let's do it quickly. NFL running backs. Let me get a list. Can I just get a list? All I want's a list. Ranking all. There we go. This might be old. Christian McCaffrey is a pretty good bet to get hurt. Gets hurt a lot. Right? I think Josh Jacobs is probably a pretty good bet to get hurt. Barkley, I don't know. I think he's healthy and recovered. Miles Sanders, maybe. Tony Pollard might be a good. We talked about it a little this morning. I'm not sure that Tony Pollard's never been the number one guy. I mean, in theory, he was with the Cowboys last year, but he's going to carry more of a load this year. This could be a place where Pollard could be potentially a potential to get hurt. Joe Mixon, I think, is a guy to watch out for. Who else? Well, Jamal Williams won't play for a while. Deonta Foreman, I don't even know if he's there. This might be an old list. Hey, J.K. Dobbins, another guy with the Ravens. I think the Jets now, Breece Hall is they've signed Dalvin Cook, so I don't think we have to worry about that situation. You got the Jonathan Taylor situation in Indianapolis. Mostert, I can never say this guy's name either. Raheem Mostert from Miami. Again, he's been hurt a lot through his career. Those are the guys. John Connor with the Cam Akers. Wherever Devin Singletary is, he's a candidate to get hurt. I'm calling it now. I got Hunter Henry. All right. I'll give you Hunter Henry, and I get everybody else on the offense. Barkley has to block once in a while, especially on the blitz. That's why he's so good. You have to block. Again, that's one of the things Zeke Elliott will bring to the Patriots, his ability to pass block and help protect Mac Jones behind a weak offensive line. We'll go a few minutes long here since we still got some really good comments going here. So now we know Scott and Keith are drafting all New England players. Yes. Mac Jones, number one pick. Might be subterfuge as well, by the way, Anthony. You're up. I'm on the clock in Dan's draft. Do I have time? Oh, I took my auto pick off. A couple times I got auto pick because somehow my auto pick keeps getting turned on. Anthony, you got that right. We will be fighting over Mac Jones. It depends on who drafts first, right? I mean, if I got the first pick in the draft, then Mac Jones is gone. If you believe that, I have Scott's already picking his whole team. Scott, snap out of it. You're not picking guys now. Linda, it's pretty bad when the perf guy's helping you with your punctuation. If the Giants and Barkley had a legit fullback, nobody plays with a fullback. I shouldn't say nobody, but fullbacks are. Maybe they should play with a fullback. A fullback who can catch the ball out of the backfield. The Giants might be better, but there aren't that many of those guys around anymore. Patriots used to have guys that they did with using that role, but you don't see many running backs. Damian Harris in Buffalo. Look at Scott Colby giving away his entire draft strategy. Can't draft coaches. I don't think we didn't have coaches on the. I don't think we had coaches in these settings. Now, defensively, I might draft all the Patriots defensive guys first. Might take Kyle Duggar, number one. Bledsoe, there are write-ins. You can have write-ins. I think we'll be happy to give you Drew Bledsoe. Hunter Green back today, CA says, for the Reds. I know that this guy is a strikeout machine. Does have some control issues, but Hunter Green is really, again, we talked there earlier in the show about guys coming back from injuries that may have an impact in this playoff race. Hunter Green is coming back at a time the Reds can really use him. They fought their way back. They had a pretty bad they had a pretty bad stretch there right after the All-Star break, or maybe just before the All-Star break. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but they had a pretty bad stretch after a great stretch, and they've kind of righted the ship. They're certainly in the thick of that wild card race and even the division race, but they do need some pitching, and they did not really go all in. As you know, again, they're a young team, and I think they're smart not to give up their chips for. You might have to beat me to Matthew Judon. He's going to be my second pick. I already got like 8 guys I'm taking in my first 2 picks, apparently. 14 people in this league. Picks are far apart, and the top guys will be gone quick. There's not 14. There's only 12 in there. Did we get more people in CA since I looked this morning? What do we got here? No, there's only 12, Rick. 12 teams. So, listen, the top guys go fast anyway. Scott is telling everybody his secrets. Yes, Scott, listen, don't believe a word he says. I know the guy used to work in counterintelligence. Keith, do you see a team out of the playoffs that could crash the party in Major League Baseball and make the playoffs? Well, it's not the Yankees. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not the Yankees, and it's not the Red Sox. I have zero faith in the Red Sox, even less faith than the Yankees. If there's a team, so I guess when you say crash the playoffs, they've got to be a ways. I'll tell you a team. The Mariners are a team, even though I think they're in the playoffs today. Let's see. Hold on. Might as well look at the wild card standings to do this. They're in the playoffs today, but they came from nowhere. They were playing horrendous baseball for most of the year. But since they're not in the playoffs, I guess maybe I can't count them. In the American League, so I'll look at the teams that are out right now. Blue Jays aren't going to be a surprise. There's nobody in the American League I can see making a run. In the National League, I could see the Diamondbacks. Now, they played a great first half. They've really fallen on some hard times until recently. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but they were just atrocious in the 20-25 games leading up to that. Lost a decent-sized lead in the West and fell totally out of the division race. They're only 3 games over 500. Half a game out of the wild card. I'll give you the Diamondbacks as one of those teams. The Marlins is one of those teams because of their pitching. Hey, watch out for the Mets. They won 4 in a row. Only 6 games back. So I see nobody in the American League that's going to surprise me. In the National League, Diamondbacks, Marlins, because I still don't believe in the Cubs. Don't believe in it. Again, there's Rick with the Cubs. And again, maybe this is my preseason pick prejudice speaking. I don't think this team is that good. Their pitching, I don't think their pitching will hold up. I think they will not make the playoffs. Marcus Stroman's out maybe for the year. He's got a stress fracture in his ribs after having some arm trouble before that. Justin Steele is now their number 1 starter. Kyle Hendricks, James Taillon, Assad. This team doesn't have the pitching, in my mind, and they don't have the offense to carry a bad pitching staff. So I still see this team is more like the team that fell to 4, 5, 6, 7 games under 500 than this team that we've seen since the All-Star break. So I don't believe in the Cubs. Really don't. Anthony, you don't want to know. I'm already throwing you off the trail. Scott, you not trust me? I'm not drafting no New England players. He's all over the Ravens. Houston's still not out of it winning. Listen, well, I'm not counting Houston as one of those teams. Listen, I still have Houston. I can't really. They're in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. And I do think they have a chance of winning the division. I still think they will win the division. And I do think they'll be in the World Series. I continue to stick by my World Series prediction of Houston winning 2 straight and beating the Braves this year to avenge the loss 2 years ago. But I didn't count them in this exercise because they're already in the playoffs. There's a little window, bottom right, that's where the draft chat room is. It's hard to do when you're on your phone, though. I will tell you. Use a laptop if you can, because some of the features are easier to use if you're actually on a laptop. Diamondbacks is, as I said, I think the Diamondbacks would be my number one. Again, they're only a half game out right now of the wild card. And to Scott's question of a team that I can see maybe sneaking in and maybe upsetting somebody in that first round, it could be the Diamondbacks. Again, a little weak on the pitching side, but I love this team. See you tonight, CA. We're going to wrap it up here, guys. Great show. Great, just great topics. Good stuff all the way around. John Gonzalez and I finally have our first disagreement on something. It's okay. That's what this show's for. Opinions. Just like, part of your anatomy, everybody's got one. Guys, have a great Sunday. Enjoy what you're going to do. I'm going to get together with my dad and my stepmom for a little bite to eat in a couple hours. And come back and, I don't know. Construction starts in a new deck tomorrow. We're happy about that. So get that underway. And we'll see you all next week. And I'll see you Wednesday on the college football huddle. There goes my music because it ran out. And have a great Sunday. See you next week. Thank you guys for contributing so much. We'll get you every week.